Welcome to Unemployed and Afraid, a podcast that explores the glorious mess of building your own business with the people doing it. I'm your host and fellow business builder, Kim Curtin. Thank you for being here. Let's get into some good, honest, small business chat. There's an era in business that some would say is part of a certain economic pressure, but I would say that it's an experience that most of us have at the most random of times, regardless of what's happening in and around us. It's the quote unquote opportunity crickets. It's when people's emails just don't seem to be working. Let me explain a little bit further. Building a business, we know it. It's so much fun, isn't it? When we're feeling all hopeful and excited, working through things in the early doors like naming and branding elements or learning new skills throughout and doing things that we haven't had the chance to do before. And we get to do it all with that beautiful sense of optimism. And especially, that optimism, it thrives when momentum builds and you start to get some exciting doors crack open. It's those moments where an email inquiry or a DM comes through, or a little meet and greet session turns into something magic. Your networking sessions pop off and someone expresses a keenness to work with us, asks us for more information, to contribute, to pitch, all of those things. And in those moments, it's like we can do anything. Hope and excitement swells up and the ego is just, yes, like this is why I have been putting in all these hours of business development, posting, marketing, selling, adding value, learning, like here we go, big fucking opportunity. Let's send this. Amazing. I'm getting excited. And so we go and we get to it. We ride that wave of optimism. We boss meetings, we brainstorm epic ideas and send proposals, maybe even tweak said proposals and follow up. And then we follow up. And then we keep following up again and again and again, only to be left with silence. It's entirely normal that we have to cycle our way through rejections to get the opportunities that are meant for us. I love the way that Penny puts it, a previous guest we've had on this show that I'll link for you in the show notes. She talks about getting 100 no's. And I love this. I love, working through and putting ourselves out there. But those ones that you get really close to, the ones where you can see yourself in, it feels there's positivity returned and it's like the door is really properly open and you just feel so right and ready for that opportunity. And it just ends up stuck in like nowhere zone. How is it that we dig deep and keep the motivation to keep going when we've already lived out a little bit inside the joy that we would have from landing this opportunity and maybe even spent the revenue in our heads only to see it never become real? It hurts. Here's something pretty personal for you I'm going to share. This is also kind of embarrassing. I made a list in my notes app recently. I was feeling the feels, and so I went to my notes app and I made a list of all the opportunities that I've had a crack at over just like the last little bit. I don't know, it's definitely been 6 months, maybe a little bit longer, but the ones that were just really top of my mind. And there were some big ones in there. There was the solid 5-figure brand deal on the table, the one where we had the first production meeting. And then I just never heard from them again. That one was where I was like, hey, you suggested this. Where are we going? And then there was the big project that needed to start the very next week that after scope and budgets and wonderful meetings and feeling really motivated and excited from it, just never started. And there's the major partnership that was the biggest play I've ever made. I wish I could tell you all about it. It's the biggest play I ever made where the partners that I spoke to about it loved it and seemed so on board and we had such a great connection. But there was that whole can't say yes or no yet vibe that just kept rolling and rolling and rolling, leaving me in limbo land for 6 months. Then there's the little ones, or quote unquote little ones, like none of them are little, but like all of the client or partnership pitches who are so keen in all of the comms, whether it's in a session, networking, having a chat, or it's in emails, but then never replied to my emails again. I stopped listing them when I got to around 27 opportunities and decided most certainly to stop making it about me. Honestly, though, since building a business, the amount of emails that I have sent to myself with test in the subject, it borders like well beyond embarrassing. It is just that feeling when you're like, gosh, is today going to be the day that these things come through? Am I going to hear from people back today? It's a really hard position to be in. So, how do we get through these phases? And we might have lots of them. I'm sure we will. I've certainly had lots of them. How do we get through them and maintain the rage? Oh, what I realized through doing this quite cathartic notes app situation, this is absolutely where that cheeky 50% of entrepreneurship, of building a business, comes in. It's the personal stuff, the stuff that is so important. Because that circumstance, opportunity crickets, it has nothing to do with how much we know about our industry, nothing to do with how much marketing we nail or the sales and the PR skills we develop it. And it has everything to do with how we treat ourselves through it, how we treat our bodies, our minds, and that little pit in our stomach that kind of just want us to give up or doesn't feel like we've got it, like it's going to happen. It's in how we speak to ourselves when it feels very scary. And when these opportunity crickets are directly linked to our finances, our revenue, and our sense of personal safety that comes along with that, it is so important for us to find a glimmer of faith and work extra hard to turn that faith into trust. Particularly for my service based business or creator kindred spirits, please know I see you. Product based e commerce, I absolutely see you too. But when it comes to sending a pitch for your services, ooh, it's hard to live through these. Through these periods, though, we simply cannot afford not to go inward and hashtag do the work. Doing the work, the all important 50% side of entrepreneurship that often gets missed when it's all hustle. It looks like maybe taking 3 long, slow breaths. Because have you ever noticed how shallow our breath can get with this level of stress? It could look like sitting in silence for 10 minutes. We just have so much noise coming in all the time. And if you're anything like me, you feel like every crack in the day with some form of external like noise or scroll or look or conversation or podcast or something. It's just very rare for us to get quiet. With walking or doing a yoga class, like moving our bodies a little bit, letting that energy go somewhere else rather than just jumping around internally. Actually, doubling exercise output, like whatever you're doing at the moment, just do more of it. It's like treat it like it's your most important job. This is something that I've been doing in the last 4 weeks, and it's kept me almost sane. I haven't wanted to do it most of the time, but I just thought, well, might as well go for it. It could be spending a day in a co working space, but hardly working. We could probably pay to reduce our productivity a little bit at times, but to do it around other people so we don't let ourselves sink down, but we open ourselves up to a little bit of taking the pressure off and maybe a little bit of human connection. We need to cook well for ourselves and stay present doing it. I cannot tell you how often I cook and eat with a phone call or a podcast or an intense conversation going on, but staying present through that, nourishing our bodies or calling a business friend to let it out, like rip in. Our business friends get it. Everyone who is trying, who is in the arena, they get it. Maybe take a socials break. I know lots of people say this, but really that place is a black hole for disassociation, particularly with stuff that's going on in the world right now. It just it pulls you in, and it's really challenging, and you deserve a little bit of a break sometimes. Of course, seeing a therapist. I know I talk about it a lot. It's so important if you can afford it. I get it's not always possible, but it really does help in just the most surprising ways. And it's something I can't access right now, and it kills me not to be able to do it. I want to be spending money on that, but it's just not. In the schema of priorities, it's just not possible. And maybe it just looks like having a big cry. Oh, embarrassing. But last week I saw a piece of content on the socials. I appreciate that. I just said maybe a socials break is a good idea. I could take my own advice. But I saw a piece of content there about a woman who had photographed her parents waving goodbye to her for 27 years. And when it got to that last slide, and like I knew even going through it, I could feel my chest. I was like, oh no, I probably should stop looking at this. And when it got to the last slide and it was an empty driveway, oh God, it gets me now. It cracked me wide open. And Lord, did I cry. All of my frustrations and my fears were unlocked in that moment by one little post. I realized how much I had been pushing down, how intense these feelings can be. It's a harsh truth in business that, regardless of the scale of your business or of the industry that you're in, the style of business you have, that you will put your knowledge, your work, your heart, and your mind on the line over and over again in the pursuit of your dreams. This is why I believe you are the bravest human on the planet. And in the weeks, months, or sometimes years where the tumbleweeds are tumbling, it will feel terribly hard to keep at it. But don't lose faith. These moments and those opportunities, they probably won't stay dead forever. And the experience of trying, of showing up for yourself is never wasted. We are absolutely built of the toughest stuff and we will find a way through. We just have to look back at how much growth has been achieved already to find that little bit of faith and that glimmer of hope that we need. But for now, in this moment, if you're experiencing a period of opportunity crickets, maybe let's just agree that you and I should go touch some grass for a little bit. I hope this overshare, which I do tend to do in these solo episodes, is helpful for you. I hope it helps you see a little bit more seen, to know that the experience of having tough moments, of not hearing back, of feeling like you're pushing shit uphill endlessly, it's also normal and it is so absolutely part of it. These phases are never forever. The great times are never forever. The hard times are never forever. So we have to just find that way to come back to ourselves and take care of the amazing person that is behind the business that you are building. Do reach out to me. I love it when you send me a message. It makes my day. It puts a little pep in my step. You can always find me on LinkedIn in the DMs or on Instagram in the DMs as well at Unemployed and Afraid. Or you can drop a comment if you're on Spotify. You can email me. Head to the Unemployed and Afraid website and you can get an email directly into my inbox, and I absolutely will always reply. So thank you so much for choosing to listen to this show and for continuing to choose yourself. Thank you for listening to Unemployed and Afraid, the podcast for small business builders with your host, me, Kim Curtin. If you love it, you can say thanks with a star rating and a review. And of course, join the community on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Find us at Unemployed and Afraid wherever you're hanging out, and I'll see you there.